If you have a smartphone, you've definitely played a few mobile games in your day. Back in 2009, Doodle Jump was one I used to play all the time, and I have fond memories of when I first saw that ad for the mobile game. Now, the reason I liked it was because the ad was honest, interesting, and true to what you'd likely experience in the actual mobile game. It was a hit. Not only were mobile game ads back then true to what you'd experience in-game, but even some, like Flappy Bird, for instance, had its in-game ads for other mobile games displayed at the very bottom of the screen, unobtrusive, not interrupting the actual gameplay you were enjoying. It was a simpler time back then, a more honest approach to mobile game ads. Honesty in advertising, I think, is something that we as consumers really value. But if you fast forward to where we are today with mobile game ads, we're a far cry away from Doodle Jump's what you see is what you get approach. We're living in a day and age where companies have gone to great lengths to convince mobile gamers that their game is hot shit, even if it means showcasing in their ads gameplay that is absolutely nothing like what you'd experience if you were to click on the commercial, go to the Google Play Store or iPhone App Store to download it. And then you find out this game ain't hot shit. It's just... I ain't gonna curse more than those 2 times. You know, it's just too damn early to be cursing like that. The topic at hand is fake mobile game ads. Those ridiculous commercials I'm sure you've seen promoting mobile games using misleading gameplay footage. I've been fooled a handful of times by games making me believe I could casually practice dentistry without a license to then shank a peaceful fisherman? I mean, what'd he do to you? And what did that gain you? What, +1 armor? Damn, also, shout out to Friedland for that comment. True words, my G. But that's the topic we have to explore. Why do these companies make these misleading ads for their mobile games? Like, it's obviously false advertising, but how far off are some of these ads to the actual gameplay you'd experience in-game? I want to take a look at 5 mobile games that lured my dumbass in with their misleading ads. Now, was the gameplay what I expected, or was it just a pay-for-play and win game looking to drain my Apple wallet at every turn? You kind of already know the answer to this, but the results are shocking. Puzzles and survival. And I want to start with this one here because it caught my eye when I first saw this commercial of a couple police officers who were surprisingly still performing their duties during the zombie apocalypse, escorting a man in his underwear to a prison cell, when all of a sudden they get bombarded by zombies, forcing the captive man to lock himself in the prison. Then he does like this weird Superman technique, breaking out of the handcuffs, which he probably could have done a long time ago, and he finds a chest under his hammock, which he solves a puzzle that clearly dictates what equipment he'll gain. Fortunately for him, it's a rifle and clothing, because he definitely needed that. Now from there, it's clear to me what the gameplay will consist of here in Puzzles and Survival. You're running away from and defending yourself from zombie attacks, all while solving puzzles that'll determine what survival techniques your playable character will use in order to escape impending doom. Yeah, Puzzles and Survival. That's the title of the game. It looks fun. I really enjoy survival horror games, and the implementation of puzzles that predicate the outcome of the scenarios you'll inevitably find yourself in seems like a great idea. Like, honestly, you know, one that I would love to check out while I'm just wasting time on my iPhone. I'm sure some of you have seen the numerous ads for this game, some rather questionable in nature that I'm not even sure if we can actually show without blurring things out. And if you were in fact enticed by the ads, well, you were duped, just like I was, because it turns out it's more or less a base building game with the combat system consisting of those puzzles teased in the adverts. Only the zombies you're fighting are nothing more than hand-drawn images with the weapons you implement to take them out magically animating on screen. So you don't actually take control of a character in-game. In fact, you never even see your character save for their avatars and HP shown at the bottom of the screen. It's a free-to-play game, but if you want certain perks, you already know what you got to do. You got to cough up some cash. And with the amount of clicking I had to do to match puzzle pieces to take out these zombies, I got bored. So I was really, really tempted to purchase the auto battle feature so that I could just, I guess, watch the puzzles just solve themselves, because that sounds like fun. Like, have you ever played Tetris and just wanted those pesky bricks to just fall in line by themselves? No, of course you didn't. No, of course. Tetris is an actually fun game the way it is. But honestly, I just wanted the gameplay of puzzles and survival to move faster to ease my boredom with the actual gameplay I was experiencing. And luckily for short attention span folks like myself, there was a top-up sale going on, which could build up my speed in-game as well as speed up the game overall. And it's almost as if the game devs were well aware of how boring it can be solving these puzzles and not being actually allowed to control your character to combat the opposing threats. Also, I want y'all to look at this sale that's going on. The first top-up is on sale for $4.99. Now that's a 5,200% discount. Now, I didn't even know discounts worked that way. This whole top-up, as they call it, guess how much it was? It was originally $259. I almost fainted when I saw that. I was like, who in the world would be paying that much for any of these things? Now, let me explain what this is. Now, top-ups in puzzles and survival are essentially these vouchers you can purchase that contain abilities, features, and equipment that'll allow you to augment your game progression, giving you access to resources that'll provide you more of an advantage when it comes to your strategic approach to both the puzzles and survival parts of the game. They pretty much, just essentially just want to run your pockets to make progression easier and less tedious for you. Now, I want to talk about the base building portion. The base building portion of this game is just as boring as the puzzles. Now, the base building is pretty much the survival part of the puzzles and survival moniker. You're pretty much building up your small community of survivors with training bases, infirmaries, and shelters, creating your very own thriving community that would put The Walking Dead's Alexandria to shame. And this is another way the game tries to, again, run your pockets, which I didn't get duped into spending any money on it because this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for building a base, all right? The only base I want to build is there is no base I want to build. Let's just face it. Let's just base it. So is puzzles and survival anything like the commercials? No! Sorry. Look, I almost went bananas trying to get through this game. Speaking of bananas, Age of Apes is another mobile game that misleads you into thinking you'll be able to reach great heights only seen in King Kong movies by consuming more potassium than your fellow primates. Now, in the ad I saw, you fight a bunch of Magillas to then challenge the top brass banana in a weird gray-scaled Paris, France. Now, if you're looking for boxing apes, well, you'll definitely find that in-game, but it's not as fast-paced or intuitive as the commercial depicts it to be. You can't even control the punches you administer onto your opponents. It just happens on its own like one of those weird AFK battlers. Now, the story in this game all points back to building a base, or outposts as they call it, for your ape colony as you try to survive threats from other mutated apes. So, kind of like the post-apocalypse in puzzles and survival, if it was infused with the movie Planet of the Apes, which Franklin J. Schaffner, the director of the original Planet of the Apes film, would be rolling in his grave if he knew his 1968 science fiction masterpiece provided even a slither of inspiration for this abomination. Whoa. This ape-abomination. Yeah, I know, that was a terrible joke. Feel free to throw your tomatoes or banana peels at me. Now, while it seems as if the combat in this game was a mere afterthought with more emphasis put into the base building aspect and some of the other mini games you'll encounter, one redeeming quality I'd give to Age of Apes is its voice acting and animation. It's definitely top-notch, which leads me to believe that there are in fact some massive King Kong-sized whales out there that are paying the price tags to win and keeping this game afloat. 100%. I bet there are. It's a pay-to-win game, like most of these types of games I'll be talking about and covering in this video. That's right, there's no heroes amongst the games I'm talking about here. They all have some villainous intent and motive, tricking you with their misleading ads to download it and play. Which brings me to our next nefarious ne'er-do-well. Hero Wars. Now, there's no way you haven't seen the fake ads advertising this pay-to-win game featuring our main hero, Galahad, who seems to have a bunch of clones because in so many of the ads where he's either being tortured by a large Medusa creature spitting poisonous loogies into his mouth or being eaten by a princess with a monstrous bottom half, there's so many guys that look just like Galahad. How many Galahads had his mama had? Galahad, I wonder. Anyways, there's numerous Hero Wars ads out there. None of them are good representations to what you'd actually experience in game, except this one. Now, it's the only one that comes close to showing you a little bit of what you can experience, which is this like pseudo tower defense game where if you're good at calculating numbers, you'll either win or lose the battle. Now, the tower defense levels are, like a glorified number stacking game. So envision 2048 meets Raid Shadow Legends. Speaking of which, this video is sponsored by... Nah, I'm just kidding. Nope, not even close. Could you imagine? Could you imagine this if this video was sponsored by another mobile game? No, of course not. Anyways, Hero Wars Alliance has RPG elements where you can recruit other heroes to join your party. Heroes like Astaroth, Morgan. Why'd I say it like that? Morgan, Thea, Phobos, and Aurora. Now, the RPG battles pretty much play out by themselves, like your typical AFK battler. But the attraction to this game is what you see in the ads, which is not what you're getting. There's grandiose things that take place in these ads, like where are all the giants that slap Galahad around? Where's the beanstalk that leads to the top with the bearded man? Like, where's the silent chokeout of the goblins? Like, can I actually turn Super Saiyan and throw lightning bolts like Zeus? All of this is a farce, all made to trick you into downloading the game and potentially paying to increase your team's power. It really sucks, which brings me to our next game.
Don't come to my house or else I'll suck your dick.
Of vampires. Yes, this is a game that's pretty much about sucking. Whoa. Not because, of its misleading adverts that vastly differ from the core gameplay mechanics, but because there's a bunch of vampires in it, and that's what they do. Vampires just suck. At least that's what it's supposed to be about, sucking. And I guess it's doing a good job. Now, the ad I saw featured this vampire character who is clearly lonely, and apparently you have the ability to retrofit them in different outfits. It's supposedly an RPG where you're living in Dracula's castle, working your way up the ranks to become a vampire lord in this secret society, all along fighting and fending off elusive werewolves. You can also form relationships, take on various lovers, and have babies. What upsets me, though, with this one is its presentation. Again, nothing like any of the ads. The actual game has this weird storybook look to it with parallaxing images of characters to give them subtle movement. Again, vastly different from the ads. The ads portray this game of vampires as something that could potentially borderline a comedic romp in a vampiric universe that's animated. Now, in the one ad I saw, you were allowed the ability to essentially pimp out your living quarters with various options, and you're allowed to form relationships with other characters. But this is just another game whose ads are intended to lure you in with interesting imagery, only to strong-arm you into coughing up money to advance and win. It is nothing like the ads, which is very weird. Even the art direction is very and vastly different from what you see in the actual ads. Now, on to the grand finale. The Grand Mafia has numerous ads out there I'm sure you've seen over the years. They usually feature a low-level crook who's getting made fun of by a pretty high-level hitman. And in this one, he stumbles upon a Grand Mafia boss who, for some odd reason, decided the perfect place to ask for help would be just underneath a wanted sign with her face on it. There's a $50,000 reward to turn you in. Dude, what are you doing there, of all places? Now, you have a decision to make in this moment. Rat her out and collect that cold hard cash, or help her and start building your name in the organized crime arena. Now, there's even one of these ads that show the same low-level crook helping another mafia boss who is actually featured in the game. Yeah, that's John Vitale, the main protag you take control of in the Grand Mafia. Now, Rebecca Caputo, daughter to Don Caputo, enlists you to take out the stilettos in some real, Godfather 3 type story arc stuff. So expect some sniping action and the occasional enlistment of street gangs and goons to handle your dirty work. Now, putting all that mafia lore aside, at its core, the Grand Mafia is just another, say it with me, base building game. Yes, and unfortunately, you'll be spending more time looking at this screen building and fortifying your base than in any of the marginally interesting mini games. Now, this game, much like all the others I've discussed, are a far cry away from any of the commercials, and it's a real shame because I was really looking forward to playing something akin to 2K Games Mafia series, but in mobile form. I mean, that's not what I got here, and that's not what this is. I went into this expecting to get a large plate of gabagool, only to come out looking like a gaba fool.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Let's just move on past that terrible joke and talk about the lessons we've learned. This day and age we're living in regards to mobile games is filled with more lies than truths. Like, some of these mobile game companies have decidedly made misleading ads to lure in a player base only to deliver something vastly different than what was advertised. And the reason some of these adverts don't feature actual gameplay is because the companies know that its base gameplay mechanics likely aren't that intriguing to lure in massive players. If Age of Apes, Grand Mafia, Puzzles and Survival had advertised its core gameplay mechanic being simply a base builder, well, it might not have lured in as many players as they have with their sometimes over-the-top, oftentimes lewd and misleading adverts. I mean, that's how they tricked me, and it's a real shame. But what's even more shameful is that some of these companies that shovel these misleading ads down our throats have the funds to potentially make the fake gameplay we see in the ads a reality. Nexters, the company behind the Hero Wars franchise, have generated 190 million downloads and $2 billion in bookings since the game hit the market in 2016. Now, the franchise has grown exponentially since then, but the sentiment amongst some is not the best. Looking at comments on a Hero Wars ad posted on YouTube usually yields comments like, "Are there any games like this? I'm confused why they won't just make a game actually like that. It would get way more downloads. The game itself is rubbish. Nothing like the ads." Now, there's many more of these comments you'll find, not just on YouTube on Hero Wars adverts, but also in your mobile app's app store in the reviews section. Now, companies such as this doesn't just make millions from misleading the masses. Believe it or not, there are, in fact, some folks out there that truly do enjoy these types of games, even if their advertising isn't a good representation of its actual gameplay. I consider them people that were just suckered in like the rest of us. It shouldn't be hard, though, to just show us what the hell we'll be getting ourselves into. In fact, if you think about it, in the long run, these companies in the mobile gaming business might see more success in showing us exactly what we'd be getting. Like Angry Birds gave us exactly what we expected in its ads and commercials, exactly what they advertise in gameplay, in the ads, and that's a massively successful franchise, leading to massively successful film adaptations. Arknights is a little free-to-play tactical RPG tower defense mobile game that came out back in 2019, and the ad, I still remember the ad I initially got for that game that put it on my radar showcased actual gameplay footage, believe it or not, which won me over because it did a good job of showcasing things like deployment and approaching paths. And Arknights is another success with a Crunchyroll anime that expands on the universe seen in the gacha game. Ain't nothing gotcha about that, but I am so glad I got your attention for this topic because it's something I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time and put a spotlight on the insidious world of fake mobile game ads, which is actually a great title for a video. In fact, you should definitely go check out H2's video on this topic if you haven't already. They do a great deep dive on this topic that's really informative. But yeah, I really hope, you enjoyed this video, and please let me know, what you think of this format. Share your thoughts below if you liked it, if you hated it, if you wish you didn't know any of this and can go back to the rock you might have been living under, unaware of these types of mobile game ads. But, let's be honest with ourselves, though. We've all gotten these types of ads at least once or twice scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube. If you want to see more musings such as this, you can go check me out on my personal channel where I'm a lot more unhinged within reason.
Yeah, baby!
That was a hot mic.